Hey there, it's Dan here, back with another video. Today, for my video, I'm going to be mostly doing some comic book reviews, showing off some stuff that I've read recently and giving my opinions on them. I had a couple of haul videos recently, and they were both pretty much unexpected because I had no idea about that convention that happened in my town, and I got some stuff there, and then I had the score from last weekend when I went to my friend's house. So because of that, I just kind of got behind on doing any of the review videos. And as much as I like to show comics off that I've got, I think recommending things that I've actually read is a little bit more of a meaningful type of video. So that's what I'm going to shoot for today. However, of course, I do have some new things that I picked up at the shop today that I will show briefly before we get into the stuff I read. And I read some pretty good stuff. So just starting out, we've got Space Scouts number 3. So this is the final issue of this series. Matt Kindt will be making a couple of appearances in my haul this week. This black and white cover was, I don't know, a little bit more appealing than the other covers. Oh, it's Don Simpson. That's probably why. It's pretty cool. Okay, so here is one that I actually bought sight unseen. It's called Drumsticks of Doom. And being a drummer in a metal band, how am I not going to buy a comic called Drumsticks of Doom that is about a drummer in a metal band? And I read the solicitation of this, and it's something about, like, instead of the Beatles becoming the most popular band in the world, Black Sabbath became the most popular band in the world. Rad. I like that premise already. And what that did to history was it made metal the most prominent genre of music as opposed to like pop music. So this is a world where metal thrives and everyone it's like the normal thing. So I didn't see it because it is in this weird wrinkly poly bag. So I'm gonna bust this out for the first time right here. See what this is all about. It's from this publisher called Massive, which I've got a few things from them before. It's super sweet cover. Really slick cover too. So the art is Dan Doherty, and it's created, and the story is by Dan Doherty with John Westhoff, co-writer. Oh, it's black and white. Cool. So this is just my first glimpse of it. All right. That looks pretty cool. Some kind of big, I don't know if it's like a werewolf or what that is exactly. It's, you know, fairly photo referenced, but cartoony. It's funny working in a music store for a long time. I recognize everything, like the slat walls and displays and things, pedal boards. Super cool. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. That looks pretty badass. So, Drumsticks of Doom number 1. No clue how long that series is going to run. Okay, next up is the newest Twilight Zones. This one's called False Bottom by Nate Powell. And I don't know Nate Powell. I think maybe I should, but art looks pretty good. These Twilight Zone books have been really fun. I'm going to find some kind of a cool page, but yeah, report in on that once I've read it. I've got a review of another Twilight Zone book coming up in a few minutes for you. Okay, so here's another brand new comic, Night City number 1. There's the other Matt Kindt book. So this is the Flux House imprint that Matt Kindt has through Dark Horse. But this is I think the first one I've seen them do that was a comic book sized. It's not a magazine. It's got a really nice thick cover. And David Lapham does the art. Color, let's see, that's cover art. I'm trying to see. There's no coloring. It says color assists Sophia Hilms. But I'm thinking that maybe Lapham is coloring this, which is interesting. It's like that Matt Kindt style watercolor. And honestly, I cannot remember what the story was on this when I read it about it. So I just kind of buy everything from these guys. They're some of my favorites, and it did cross my mind like, wow, Matt Kent and David Lapham teaming up, not at Bad Idea. It's like, I was just thinking they'd do everything together at Bad Idea, but obviously that's not the case. Here's Department of Truth number 35. And it's nice to see Simmons is still on this, but there's a lot of names at the bottom. So it looks like Scott Snyder and then Joshua Hickson, I believe. Maybe this is a backup story. So I'm not going to bust it out right now, but got to get to the reviews. All right, Cyberarchy number 3. Still getting this one. I think there's just one more issue, so I've got the review of number 2 coming up. I kind of liked it. It's pretty cool. Okay, so I took a chance on a comic that I'm not sure if I'll like, but it's from Ignition Press, and I keep hearing Ignition Press is pretty decent. The girl that's working in the shop today was talking about how Ignition Press books have been pretty popular and pretty good, and then I've had other YouTubers recommend them. So I just grabbed this one called Love Ignited, and I got this specifically because it's a one-shot, not a series that I would have to start out, and it is it's a pretty thick issue, square bound, and it is an anthology that has, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stories in it, and I really like Danny's art, and so this art looked really nice for this first story. This is obviously some kind of a Valentine's Day type of thing. It's like Valentine's stories, turned horror. So this is what the art on the second one looked like. Kind of unique, not like the most exciting thing ever, but that's the second one. The third one is more of a scratchier indie kind of style. This fourth one was probably the least appealing to me, but could be cool. It was the fifth one that made me go, yeah, I'm going to buy this. This is You, Me Again, story and art, Chris Burnham. So I love Chris Burnham's art. I still feel like that Die, Die, Die series was one of the best things I've read in a long, long time. So it has some pretty gruesome art in that one. And then this last one looks kind of familiar. I don't know if I know this artist or not, but that last one is by Morgan Beam. Yeah, that sounds familiar. So I was just going to get those, but then at the last minute I remembered I'd put those TMNT Journeys comics on hold in my pull box. I just grabbed number 2, so I don't have to let them keep piling up. I'm just going to slowly get those. Okay, then one more thing. I got one comic in the mail from eBay. Just one of those things where you look at a comic on eBay and the next thing you know, the seller is sending you a offer for a cheap copy, and you're like, all right, well, you went to the trouble of sending me this offer. It's only $4, and it's packaged extremely well, so I haven't opened this up yet. It's painter's tape all over it. Okay, so this is a Bad Idea comic I'd never heard of called The Finder from Tomas Giarello and Christos Gage. So this was from the second wave of Bad Idea. And look at how sweet that cover is. Way cool. Really thick issue. It's one of those $7.99 ones. God. Tomas Giarello's art is pretty nice. He's the one on the Planet Death, right? So The Finder, I think it's just this one standalone comic. Doesn't say to be continued or anything at the end. And then we've got a backup. Burger Time. Robert Venditti, writer, Vincent King's art and letters. Cool. Burger Time. I like the backups. They usually call them Bad Idea B-sides. Yeah, this looks awesome. So there was one other pretty cool looking Bad Idea comic that I missed from the second wave that is a very psychedelic looking cover. So I might get that too. I saw it pretty cheap on eBay. All right, strap in folks. This might be a bit of a long video. I'm going to start off with what I absolutely consider to be the best thing I read, and it was a tough one because the next thing I'm going to talk about is so good too. But this beats it out just because this is so beautiful. Oh, gosh, I'm not thinking about it. Who cares? Who cares what's better? Who cares what's worse? This is the Savage Sword of Conan number 11 with a huge, like, feature-length story by Liam Sharp. So Liam Sharp writes this and draws this, and dear God, the detail on this story is so good. I am not by any means a really super knowledgeable Conan reader, but I love the character, and you cannot deny this art is fucking incredible. I mean, I stared at every one of these pages for so long, and the story was awesome. His writing was great. It was like the perfect amount of text. It left space when there needed to be space left. It explained things that needed to be explained in little panels like that. Dialogue was not awkward. And essentially Conan has to go into this, to track down this missing son of this guy. And he sort of ends up in this like sort of parallel world where he's faced with himself, as you can see right here. And so like trying to figure out what the deal is with all of that. And he gets this bird armor. And he meets this beautiful woman. And I don't want to spoil the story, but I want to try to explain it a little bit. So this is kind of like this alternate world where this guy who sends Conan to search for his son found this mirror, and the mirror shows him possible futures, and the futures are showing him different people that were going to kill him. So he's like dispatching with these people that could possibly be responsible for his demise. And they kind of get banished to this other world. And Conan's got to figure some stuff out. And there is this Wicca woman with the one boob that's always out. And she is drawn so well. Look at that. This art is so ridiculous. It must have taken him so long to draw this. And if you know, I mean, Liam Sharp's been around for a long time. But you know, one of the most recent things I've got from him was this Batman series called Reptilian that Garth Ennis wrote. And it's really odd that Garth Ennis actually wrote some Batman. This is actually one of the best panels, not just because of the sexy dame, but look at that tree. It is so nicely drawn. Look at all this background. His figure work is outstanding. But that Reptilian comic was super digital. It didn't look anything like this. Look at this as one of those, what do they call it? I'm trying to remember where they move through time on the page like that. Can't remember right now what that technique is, but just all this background stuff. It's fantastic. So, story had a really great plot, really great ending, really great art, really great everything. So whether or not you're a Conan fan, I would highly recommend getting this single issue. It's only $6.99 for a massively huge comic. It's, you know, I don't know, it's 80 pages or more, I think. This story was absolutely great. The second story in the back, which was very short, was not good. It was a Cormac Mac art story, and the art was not good. I looked at the brand new issue. The issue 12 just came out today. Art was not good. And it was like done with a bunch of grayscale, and it looked very digitalized. and like just the digital gray was like pixelated in a way and just looked bad. So I didn't get that one. I just buy that series when it looks like a really good artist, and this is the one you want. Sure, there's variant covers, so just look for number 11. You want this comic, I tell you what. Okay, so the mini-series I just finished reading that I highly recommend is from Bad Idea, and it is Cul de Sac. So I really want to show off some of this art, but I do not want to spoil this comic because I definitely think that you should go out and get this comic. It is supposedly going to be published in a hardcover, but it's through Kickstarter. It's not just going to be available in shops as far as I can tell. And I've heard questionable things about the way these guys have done Kickstarters in the past. So my recommendation is, if this looks good to you, buy these issues. They're all still on the stands. They're probably not gone up in price or anything. They're really thick issues. I think they're 40 pages each for $5.99, I think. So there's number 1, number 2. And yes, the insides of these comics look just like this. There's 3. I got the A cover on all of them. I know Jim Mahfood did variants for most of the issues, and I never even got to see what those looked like. I think they were incentive variants, though. All right, so I'm going to start with number 1, and I'll probably just explain how this story kicks off. And then I will just show some art from the other issues, but I don't want to tell you any of the main twists. So this is a vampire comic, but not a total vampire comic. So there is this team of vampire hunters, and you can see them doing one of their missions at the beginning here. And then you quickly get to know this couple here, and they are parents, and they have these 2 young girls that they are taking with 2 other neighboring kids. So this is their little cul-de-sac that they live on. And there's 3 families. So the 2 daughters from the one family, and we've got this little kind of skater punky kid from one family, and then this other teenage boy from the other family. And they're taking them all out on their annual camping trip. And so they're going out, and the whole idea here is that it's time for the parents to finally have the talk, and they're going to tell all the kids at once that the parents, and so therefore the kids as well, are vampires. And it's like a big coming of age thing that, you know, their parents did for them and the grandparents did for the parents and so forth. So they're vampires, but you quickly come to find out that they're not your average vampires. And while they are out having their camping trip, let's see what happens. How do the parents get back? That's what I'm trying to remember, because the mom was with them. I can't quite remember why the mom had to leave, but all the parents that were back at the houses get assassinated by these vampire hunters. So the children are all of a sudden left after they just discovered they're vampires to, you know, fend for themselves and also figure out what's going on with the people who killed them. They're at risk of being murdered as well. So they discover their parents were killed in the first issue. And the rest of the story is basically an escape tale. They're trying to get away from the vampire hunters. But the vampire hunters themselves, their role sort of changes in the story. And I don't want to give that away, but all I'm going to say is that other factors come into the mix that become even more dangerous than the vampire hunters. Now, there's really very little vampire stuff going on in this comic. It's nothing like your average vampire comic. And they're actually not even vampires. And the reason why their family is so special and unique is because they're called this, they're this sort of different form of vampire called the Necrotil. And they're essentially like the highest on the food chain of vampires. They can kill other vampires. So they're like the last of their kind. So crosses and things that would normally affect the vampires don't faze these kids at all. And they have sort of special powers. Now, that may or may not sound like that cool of a story, but I promise you it is. There's a lot of different layers to it. There's a lot of different characters. And let's face it, the draw here is this art. It is fantastic art. So I didn't even say it, but yeah, Mike Carey is the writer, and Jonathan Wayshek is the artist. And he does all the art, coloring, everything. It's all painted in a crazy multimedia style. So you've got stuff where you can see incredible layers of different types of paints and media, and then also parts where it's in more black and white. The layouts are really unique. I heard that the pages, the original pages, were just super distressed from just all the crazy amounts of ink and splatter and pencil and what colored pencils and all the different stuff he uses. The more you pay attention, the more you start to pick up on so many different types of stuff that he's throwing down. But it's in general just a really unique combination of black and white and color that blends together in a way that never seems weird. It just fits. I felt like there was sort of a money shot on every page as I'm flipping through and trying to find really good pages to show. I'm not getting that feeling as much, but it's probably because as you sit with it and read it and your eye just goes from one panel to the next, you really soak it all in. I should also mention that every single issue has a different backup story. So here's a B-side of Bunsen Beaver. This is a funny one because the Bunsen Beaver comic, from what I found out, is Bad Idea on the second round had a comic book called Bunsen Beaver that was packaged in these boxes of donuts, and they made this special little donut shop thing that was like a pop-up donut stand at a convention. And this wordless strip by David Lapham is about that experience and how people were taking these comics and getting them graded and slabbed. And it's pretty funny, actually. Okay, back to the story at hand here. I don't think I'll show every single bit, but over half of every issue is the main story. And then you got your backup feature, and then there's always a little preview of one of the other newer Bad Idea titles. So it's cool. If you get this, then you're going to get a chance to sample some of their other stuff, see if you like it. This comic's really, really good. It's super, super fun. So probably stop there. Hopefully I've whetted your appetite for it, but you should get it. It's really cool. All right. So now I'm just going to kind of alternate between a bunch of random stuff. Newer things, older things, a couple of completed miniseries, mostly just single things I read. Some of them good, some of them not as good. I like to kind of like just dip into these boxes and find a comic I've never read before and read it. I like to plug away at longer runs where I don't feel like I'm missing out on something if I wait a long time in between issues. And this one I grabbed out of the box randomly and I was like, oh, this is Amanda Conner on the art. And I recall Rasa talking recently about how Amanda Conner is one of her favorite artists. So I was like, I haven't read anything from Amanda Conner in a long time. What's this comic? It's Soul Searchers and Company #1 from Claypool Comics. So Claypool Comics is real weird and unknown to me, but as far as I can tell, it is the brain project of this one guy, Richard Howell, and this is from '93, I believe. Yep, 93. It's black and white. It's this comic is drawn by Amanda Connor and inked by Jim Mooney. Peter David is the scripter, and he co-plots it with Howell. There were 82 issues of this comic. 82. What? And then these other series, there's 4 series that they came out with. Phantom of Fear City. This was shorter, I believe. Deadbeats, which also had 82 issues. And then an Elvira comic that had over 100 issues. Like, weird. How did this go for so long and just no clue about it at all? And this art's not bad. The story was just not very good, though. It's Peter David just tries to make every bit of dialogue funny. It just reminds me of old comics that are trying too hard to appeal to kids. And it honestly read like a cartoon, like a children's Saturday morning cartoon, which sounds kind of cool in some ways, but not with this. And all of these titles are supposedly supposed to tie in with this Fear City thing. So just a weird comic that I definitely don't really think I would recommend or want to read more of. Speaking of not a very good comic, I grabbed this out of the box of the quarter books that I read just because it just was something I'd never heard of. Backbone Presents, and it was just a weird anthology from this company that is obviously they're all about just creating IP. Lame. It's got this little thing in the back where it talks about Backbone is a division of Foundation 9 Entertainment, a premier developer of interactive entertainment products and properties from licensed titles to original IP. It's the largest independent video game developer in North America. All right, well, there was 3 stories, and none of them were really that great. So why am I even talking about it? I should probably just say, don't buy this comic. I liked this art in the second one. Just didn't go anywhere at all. And then the third one was this sort of barbarian guy. So it's always fun to check out something weird, but who knows what came of that company. I mean, I never even heard of it. Okay, so Cyberarchy number 2 came out, and this was a cool comic. I liked it. It's not the most amazing thing ever, but I really dig that cover, the giant bug. So some of these I haven't read super recently, so I apologize if I'm struggling to remember what's going on, but the first issue was just robots. Now we have these kind of like alien type people. And one of the funny things is that there are these giant crazy bugs that get introduced into this world. And unfortunately, it takes out the guy's wife. In the page 3. So you're like, oh, bummer, this guy's wife is dead. Then he goes home. This is what they can do here. So there's the smelting plant they work at. And let's see here. Yeah, so he goes home. He pops this little pill into this little hole and closes it up, and he sits down to eat his dinner. And he's not acting sad about his wife at all. And he's just sitting around for a little while, and then all of a sudden you see this like computer readout thing talking about the different things that have been completed so far, and then boom, there you go. She pops out of the machine, good as new. So they can basically just regenerate a life like that. It's kind of cool little addition to this world that they can do that. The robots are still there, but I'm just glad that they've expanded this world a little bit. It's a fun comic. And it's very clearly like digitally made, but it just is nice art. I just like it. So that wasn't bad. Now on to something much older. This art had insanely good, or this comic had insanely good art. I only have the first 2 issues of this, but there were only 3. This is Tales of Ghost Castle from DC, 1975. awesome. It's in pretty bad condition, but you know me, I just want to read these old comics, so I buy the cheap conditions. Snake Eyes by Robert Kanigher and E.R. Cruz was the first one, and this is a story where this woman who works at a zoo and is like, I don't think she works in the snake area, but she's like afraid of snakes, so she goes into the snake area every night and taunts the snakes and pokes them with sticks. God, the art is so good. The snakes are drawn so well. All of the art in this is great. I won't spoil the ending on that one, but obviously a snake's coming for her. All right. Oh, it's beautiful art. Okay, skipping forward. Alex Nino on the second one here. Alex Nino is great. This art was really cool. The Inheritors. So, sort of a, future world where humans finally find a planet that could be inhabitable, or no, they're returning to Earth. That's what it was. They're returning to Earth after like hundreds and hundreds of years, and because there was, toxic fallout that killed everyone, and there's these mutants that are still around from the olden times. And there's a little twist at the end. It wasn't too good, but Nino's art's just awesome. Coloring's good. And there was, I think, one more story here. Yeah, story Mal Warwick Art Rubini. Fate of the Fortune Hunter. Really nice art, though. And these guys are searching for fortune, and you can imagine where it goes. They're bad people. They're trying to steal the fortune that they shouldn't be stealing. But this series is just, so far, the first two issues I've got are both very good for these old DC anthologies, and there's only 3 issues, so not too hard to track down that whole series. Sorry about all the crinkly tape sounds. I just didn't take these all out beforehand. So there's Last Day of H.P. Lovecraft number 3. Talked about this one quite a few times. I'm kind of less engaged with what's happening with the dialogue and stuff. I think this really would be more appealing to someone that had a lot of knowledge about H.P. Lovecraft. But it doesn't drag on. It's not like a hard book to read. It doesn't confuse me. It's just not as interesting. And I just probably don't get as much of the stuff, but that's okay because I'm here for this. Glorious art. It's a very limited color palette, but really good. So this first part of it, he's getting taken around by Houdini. So I think Lovecraft had some type of a relationship with Houdini in real life. There's parts in the middles of these where there's these letters that he's written, and it kind of switches into this snowy white area. Look at that guy's face. It's funny. So it's a beautiful comic. I definitely am enjoying it and would recommend it, but more for people who know Lovecraft a lot. Okay. Ghost Rider 59. Super dumb cover. That's not good at all. Yeah, this one wasn't that great. Jack Sparling and Don Perlin. There was this water wizard guy that gets brought back. It's a pretty cheesy bad guy, and he teams up with another one, but I love these old Ghost Riders. I have all of them except for one issue. Well, and I don't have a real copy of number 1. I just have a reprint. This one I probably shouldn't even open because you're not even really going to be able to get the effect from seeing it. But this is Mystery in 3D. I was reading this in bed. My wife was brushing her teeth. She came in and didn't know I was reading this 3D comic. She just, whoa, saw me with the glasses on. Done that many times, so I just pop on some 3D glasses and she comes in the room and just like, what the hell? It's kind of a funny thing. But that was really good. She teams up with Mike Mist. Actually, I'll say right now, this is the best, actually, 3D production I've ever seen on a comic. This 3D was really fantastic. I was pretty surprised at how well it was done. Okay, one more quick one, then we'll get on to something with some more substance. I'm just showing off shit. I don't care. This is Judge Dredd 28. And this was also not as good of the art. I think as these issues go on, they sort of ran out of the real bangers and are getting onto some of the like second tier artists. This one's Ron Smith on the Hot Dog Run. But the story was really cool. So they're taking all these cadets out into the cursed earth to do like their final sort of test thing before they can become judges. And they had to train, they do their judge training for so many years just to get to this point. And Judge Dredd is such a hard ass that he barely passes any of them. But there was a couple of other shorter ones in here too. There's some Judge Anderson ones. This one, just the art is very different from what you expect from Judge Dredd. So that one, and then there's an Ian Gibson one. You could probably recognize that from... Holy crap, brain fart. Halo Jones. Okay, so the Twilight Zone number 3, the one I've been looking forward to the most, came out. And it is amazing. The Relic by James Stokoe. So, it's extremely detailed. This comic needs to be twice the size to actually take in all the detail. You got to get right in there and like really look. I'll say the thing I'm disappointed up front, and that is the fact that he painted this sort of in a grayscale effect for the black and white, but I feel like he just used the digital features that he would have done to do one of his regular colorized comics, and it kind of masks the level of detail. There's so much detail put in, but somehow it just doesn't pop the way it does when he does his regular coloring. Obviously, he has a really, really creative use of colors in general. He does a lot of computer effects with like blending of colors, and I think that works really great, but I think he was using that same approach for the black and white, and it didn't work quite as well. All that said, who cares? The art is still magnificent. The story was really fun. So it's just kind of like in the past, this, two warring factions in like a medieval kind of scenario. And the Twilight Zone-ish twist that comes in is pretty funny and unique, and I don't want to spoil that at all. But as you can see, this is like ancient times, and all of a sudden they come in and there's guys with guns and an American flag. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to explain more of it. But this is really hard, I think, for you guys to probably get the effect of this art through a tiny phone screen. So spend the $5 and get this issue because it's great. Okay, not putting those away. So here's an interesting thing that happened. I showed this Trauma Core comic off on the last video. I got this for $0.25. And I was showing off the stuff in the back. I got to the back cover and I was like, dude, look at that cool advertisement for the Choke number 5 coming in April. I said, that's worth the price of admission alone. And then I put it away, and I didn't actually read this yet. But has this ever happened to you where you were like, I don't want to get that comic, and then you discover you actually had it and did not remember? So I actually went, the Choke, oh yeah, I've got an issue of that. I think I'm going to bust that out and read it. And so I went in the box, and this was in a box of stuff I hadn't read. This is the Choke number 1. And so I'll talk about this in 1 second. But I went and grabbed it out of the box, and right behind it was the Choke number 5. That's that cover. I was just like saying, cool, I want to get that. I actually had it. Didn't even know I had it. And so I want to get numbers 2, 3, and 4 now. All the art looks super, super good on this. So this is an anthology from Anubis Press. I have no idea why they didn't put the logo on this first issue. They totally should have. But it's a really good cover. I believe that's Jim Ballant. Yeah, Jim Ballant cover there. Just a straight up black back, kind of sweet. So number 1, March 93, created by this guy. And it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stories in it and some pinups. So not all of them are as good as this first one, but this first one to me was the best. This is Chains by Von Schultz. And it's just a really obscure type of drawing with kind of Sienkiewicz-y look. A lot of different applications of the gray and like with actual, you know, washes. Like if James Stokoe maybe would have used some wash, like ink wash, I think that would have been better than the digital thing he did. But this art is really cool, and I'm intrigued because this one says it's to be continued in issue 2. So I didn't get the conclusion of this post-apocalyptic story here. And you know, this is one of those things where the text that's this like sort of a weird artistic narration could have been dog shit, but it was really good. It was one of those times. I actually think all the writing in this comic was good, which is very unusual for an old school anthology. A lot of times there's going to be some duds. There's probably some that weren't that good in here, but I thought that this sort of artistic text was pretty good. This one, well, it's not as good. Doorway for Destiny. I like the art. It's about this little fairy. She's like sitting there snoozing next to some shrooms, and then the artist had to throw some pot leaves at the bottom to let you know where his head is at. But it's really beautiful art. By Scott Harrison. Third story was Hard Sacrifice by Adam Polina. And that name is very familiar to me, but I don't know what Adam Polina has done. This story was just one of those kind of like, probably didn't even really need to have the dialogue. It would have been better to just maybe have this wordless, because it was honestly nothing. It's like they're going to sacrifice a chick, and then these guys show up and get in the way. Not much really happened. So I guess this comic wasn't all great, but the art was all good. That's awesome. Okay, this one is crazy. This is James Widmark, CLF, Cybernetic Liberation Front. Way detailed, crazy detailed. You know, every background is full of like tiny little lines. There was a ridiculous box to read, though, that sets it up. So people who draw like this tend to do that. Look at that freaking panel right there. This guy's getting his arm sawed off by this robot and his leg. You can see the bone. There's no blood, which is odd, but look at this just super insane background. So much gray. It's pretty outlaw. And of course, he becomes cybernetic. Half his body is now shiny. Really good art. Anubis Press. Here we have some ads, including Raw Comics, Glenn Hammond's. You will see a video about this person. I promise you that. Just got to get everything kind of in line, get all my concepts laid out. Blades of Mercy by Bergerud. Sorry, I suck. That's not good. But I just like the jarringness of this, going from that crazy detailed one to this more simplistic one. It was really short though. And it's continue next issue. Then Mercy by John Bergerud. Let's see. Oh, Everett Harso drew that one. And Jason Pearson. Jason Pearson drew that one. It's the guy that did Body Bags. And then the last one is a jam with the same two guys together. They said they drew that at a convention. All right. It says that CLF, that comic with the crazy detail, is coming soon from Anubis Press. I don't know that actually happened. And then the last one, written and directed by Hannibal King and Jeff Austin, Savior. Also pretty good art. Spending a lot of time on this one comic. Sorry, it's probably not that interesting to a lot of you guys, but I love this old stuff. Look at that James O'Barr cover for Godhead. I don't have any issues of Godhead. I've been wanting to get those. And then your little back matter thing. Sweet. All right. Thanks for not skipping forward if you didn't skip forward. You might have, but it's okay. It's okay if you did that. Okay, so now here's a 4-issue series I just completed called Don't Spit in the Wind, Mad Cave, and this is Stefano Cardacelli. I really like Stefano Cardacelli's art. I just got a random comic from him one time and was like, I'm into this. And then I just started picking up stuff that he did, and then I stopped. I think that the comics that he was putting out looked like they had like less and less substance, and the prices were higher and higher. So, you know, you have to make some tough choices when you're picking up new stuff. But this was the last thing I got from him, and it was okay. I do really like his art. I just wish you got a little more for your money with this stuff. His art is unique. It's definitely done digitally, and he seems to have done everything with like the same line weight for the most part. I don't ever see any variation of thick and thin, and no real shading or cross-hatching or anything. It's just tons of little lines. So you're in this post-apocalyptic world with these cleanup crews that are trying to clean up whatever's left of this toxic world. Also, side note, Stefano Cardacelli loves coffee. He puts coffee in every comic, and he references coffee in his comics constantly. One of his comics was even about coffee. This dude is really into coffee. Like, look how weird that anatomy on that girl is. He just doesn't care. He just draws how he draws, and I like that. So, it's a little bit of a love story with that woman and this one other guy. And it's also about this, oh yeah, there's like a plague of locusts that comes. But it's about the rest of humanity is living on this space station that's like orbiting the Earth, and it's set up. See if I can find a shot of it. It's probably in the next issue. It's set up where the higher class people live at the top, and then the middle class people in the middle, and the lower class at the bottom. Here's issue 2. And they're basically, it doesn't really go anywhere with this guy, but there's this guy here who is just kind of out to destroy what's left down there. It's not that clear. He always draws these flamingo-looking birds, too, in his comics. But anyway, the people in the space station, let me see if I can find that. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm going to come back to the monster, don't worry. Space station, lower class is like the majority of it, and then the higher class lives in the top. And it's almost like there's just this one president who just sits around eating cake and pie and muffins and stuff and drinking coffee. And his aide is telling him how there's these problems on Earth, and something's happening, and their space station is going to crash into Earth, and he just keeps warning him, and all the guy does is keep stuffing his face with cookies and stuff. Super weird. And then just ignores the problem completely, and I probably shouldn't spoil what happens, but this was one of the things I got really into with this comic, this monster. I think he drew this really well. But the reason why I can't give this a strong recommendation is there's cool stuff like this, but it doesn't go anywhere. Just some cool ideas, they don't pan out. So I can't say I wouldn't recommend reading it, but I would say get it if you can cheap. You know, I paid regular cover price for this just because I like this artist and I wish the story gave me more. But not terrible. I'll just blow by a few here. There's Demon 54. This is pretty cool because Jason Blood and Etrigan are seeming kind of separated, but it's unclear. But fuck it, I'll just show a little bit of it. I'm showing everything else. How could I not show the demon? Yeah. Demon has seen better days. He's having to fight his own son. It's like this hideous beast. I can't recommend Hitman enough. I just love the way John McCrea draws Tommy Monaghan, who's the Hitman. And as much as I love the demon art, I just kind of I like Hitman so much because I feel like this is just truly a creation of John's. And, you know, the demon is Jack Kirby's. So it's not bad. This, shouldn't even show this. This is the worst Punisher comic I think I may have ever read. It's just a dog shit comic. All right, good comic. It's rare to find a bad Punisher comics. I like them all, but that one was really bad. American Caper #3. I am still in love with this series. Every issue just gets better and better. They just keep introducing more and more stuff, like this Wild West reenactment thing that they do in this town. And this terrible wife that he's got. Kid that's always playing video games. Let's see here. Yeah, we introduce some more characters that are like FBI agents or something. They're trying to get to the bottom of some of this mystery stuff that's going on in this town with murders and the smuggling ring and stuff. They put these interesting little fake ads in here for places that are in this town that are super funny. I wish I knew what to say about this comic to make you really want to get it. It's extremely good, though. The art's really great. The story is really, really well done. It's just about these relationships and these characters. This crazy guy. God, this paper, though, that Dark Horse uses is so bad. Anyway, I recommend American Caper. It's fantastic. Okay, here is a 100% amazing comic. So I have a lot of Aliens comics, and I have a big stash of like one-shots. And they were just all in this one box, and I was like, I'm just going to pull those out and start ripping through them because I've read a lot of my Aliens comics, but not all of them. So this one I've actually had for a little while, and it was definitely something I think I got on to my radar from Cartoonist Kayfabe. But this is Alien Salvation, written by Dave Gibbons, drawn by Mike Mignola, and inked by Kevin Nolan. Outstanding front cover. I think that's just Mignola, though, probably on the cover. This is a, oh, and it's also lettered by Clem Robbins and colored by Matt Hollingsworth. So that's half the Preacher team right there. How cool that opening page is. So these people on a spaceship get stranded. There's only 2 of them left. And it sort of works its way backwards as to how they got stranded. You know, obviously aliens, something happened, ship has to crash, land on this planet, and it's like a stranded on a desert island kind of story. This guy here is losing his mind. He was majorly injured in the crash, so he's going insane. And the other guy, so the reason it's called Salvation is this main guy here is a man of God. And so everything he's doing is putting his faith and praying and believing and all of that. But then he has to do violent things for survival's sake. And as he moves forward through this seemingly uninhabited planet, aside from creatures and bugs and stuff, he finally finds there's some bigger life on this planet. These are like the natives. And he feels very sad that he killed one. He finally finds someone else from his ship that's going to help him out. And I'm not going to really spoil. This is about a little before the halfway point of the comic. But now I'm just going to show you some of the aliens. So Mike Mignola's alien is very simplified, as you'd expect it to be. Kevin Nolan's inking on him is really great. Can't reference a whole lot of Kevin Nolan stuff. Kevin Nolan isms. I don't know enough about him to be like, oh yeah, you can tell that's Kevin Nolan because of that. But you can definitely tell it's Mignola. You could definitely tell it's earlier Mignola. That's not the ridiculously stylized type from Hellboy. But it's a beautiful comic. It was really fun. Very well written. Dave Gibbons killing it on the story. Beautiful. Creepy. Awesome. Getting close to the end here. So Transformers number 28. Do I need to even talk about this comic? You probably either like Transformers or you don't, but I do. So I get it. And part of me just loves the Transformers from when I was a kid, but that's not why I get it. There's been a million Transformers comics, and I've never got any of them, really. I got this because of Daniel Warren Johnson, and I stuck around. So that's what's going on with this. But that's pretty rad. That is Megatron ripping a Transformer in half, and all of the Energon blood coming out of him. I started reading Terror Inc. I've actually read some of it. I just really have mostly the interest in Jorge Zafino. And so this is DJ Chichester, who does the writing on this. So he appeared a few other places before this, and I actually have those appearances. I was going to read them first, and then I got the comics out where he first appeared, and I was like, I don't think I care very much. I just want to read this comic. So the deal with this guy, with this terror character, is just one of the most bizarre concepts for a superhero type thing. He loses limbs and then attaches limbs from other people onto his body. Like, look at this, he's like ripping off somebody's arm that's dead and putting the arm on his own body right here. And by doing that, he now all of a sudden can tap into that person's memories. It's super duper weird. There he is, like putting somebody's eye in. Now he can like see what that person saw. He's putting somebody's ear on. Now he can hear what they were hearing, and it's like helping him piece together the mystery. So bizarre. So I'm gonna start reading this whole series now. Now that I dug them out, I'm gonna go for the whole thing because I've read some and I decided to start over at number 1. But yeah, Zafino's art is really unique. Some people might not like this kind of art, but I far prefer this to the, polished house style you see in a lot of typical Marvel comics. This one's from '92. Okay, one other older comic I read, just dug into my box of war stuff and found this GI Combat number 287 with a Joe Kubert cover. It's a pretty cool cover. Shootout on Skull Mountain. So this one had art by, make sure I get this right, yep, Sam Glanzman, and it's written by Robert Kanigher. Something's weird with the coloring on this one. It's extremely bright for what, for 87. I guess this is where they were sort of transitioning into using a lot more brighter colors. And maybe the coloring style changed, but got some haunted tank dude. Jeb. But Klansman's art's really good. Love old war comics. This is a good story. I think there was something else in the back too, wasn't there? Yeah. The Secret Hero, and this is art by E.R. Cruz. So he was in that Tales of Ghost Castle one from earlier that I showed. Oh, that was right. That was only a 2-pager. And then Angel Trinidad on this last story. All right. Thanks for hanging in there. We got one last thing, and this is another mini-series I just finished up. Nemesis Forever by Mark Miller, art by Matteo Scalera. Had to get that Jay Lee cover for number 1. That's a super creepy cover. Awesome. This is a 5-issue series, number 2. The rest of the covers were all Scalera. Number 3. 4. Oh, it's pretty badass. The snakes and the evil. And then number 5. So what I can say about Nemesis, if you don't know, is if you like people who do good, don't read this comic. If you like when the supervillains win, then you should read this. It's totally evil and messed up. Nemesis is just the absolute worst supervillain in the world, and he just kills and kills and kills. And it's, if you're thinking a lot about what's going on in the world today, this probably wouldn't be the comic to read, because there's a lot of death in the world, and it's not to be taken lightly. It's not to be made into a form of entertainment. But if you like superheroes and you like comics and you like fantasy and you like escaping into, someone's creation, this is a really entertaining comic. And Scalera is just on point with this art. His art is really, really good. It's a very lightly inked style. It's definitely closer to what looks to me like maybe really, really dark pencil than it does look like really like solid ink, as you can probably tell. And the coloring on this is Giovanna Nero. So Nemesis is just creating havoc everywhere he goes. This is like maybe the 4th volume of Nemesis. The first one's the best. There's no way they're going to top the first one. And I think the 3rd one was maybe not super great. Like there's one of them, the 2nd or 3rd one. Also, there was Big Game, which was sort of a crossover with Nemesis and a bunch of other stuff. But you can see he's just leaving bodies in his wake. And the main deal with this particular story is this woman right here is a deep cover CIA operative who is going to infiltrate his, she does infiltrate his crew. And the woman that was supposed to join up with this crew, none of these bad guys had ever seen her before. And all they knew about her was that her eye was missing. So this woman allowed the CIA to cut her eye out so that it would fit the part and she wouldn't get like recognized for being a spy. So that's some pretty serious dedication. Then you also come to find out right away that she is pregnant and she doesn't tell anyone. So you root for her because she's good and she has a baby and she's putting herself through a lot to try to take out this villain. But I don't know why this comic is just structured in a way where you just root for the villain. He is the guy you love. And in this particular arc, here he is. He has donned this alter ego of this rich man, Hans Berg, who is swooping in and buying up all of the most expensive companies in the world. And he's just amassing a fortune. And there's a specific reason for that I don't really want to spoil because it's part of the payoff of this comic. But there he is. Sadistic fucker. And there's a little bit of extra fantasy beyond just the, typical it's a superhero-y type book. But, he doesn't have superpowers. He's just crazy awesome and really, really good at planning and really good at organizing these crazy violent things that he does. And I think that this series would have been better if he had just stuck to that. But something inside Mark Miller can't get through a series without having something that's beyond our realm, that's impossible, that has to do with the mystic or superheroes or science fiction. So it's the only complaint I have about him as a writer in general. I just wish he could just do something a little bit more grounded. I'm trying to think, did Kick-Ass and Hit Girl have, aside from them being badasses, maybe that one didn't have that. This was a crazy part. This was one of those like, geez, there's no way you would have got out of that. These guys just would have shot you full of bullets, but it's a comic. Whatever. You can get out of it. Cool. So that's about it for me this week. I recommend that series, but like I said, you definitely want to get the first volume if you're curious about that character. Right on. So let's see, anything else to announce? Yeah, I'm going to probably be on a live hangout with Terrence and the one and only Daryl D coming up sometime soon. So I'll let you know in a future video when that gets scheduled for. In the meantime, thanks a lot and hope you're enjoying your comic collection.